And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the deck. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
In for Jalen Rose today, friend of the show, colleague, NBA insider Amin Elhassan. Thanks for coming in, Amin. Especially at such a late notice. Jalen was scheduled to be on the show today, but it's his birthday yesterday, and no one has spoken to him or seen him in the last 12 hours.
On the milk carton?
We have no idea what happened. We have no idea what happened to Jalen Rose. That's not true. He was scheduled to be off today. He is traveling. But we have you today, which is exciting. And there are some topics that didn't make the television program that we can talk about here on the podcast section. And one thing I want to talk to you about is the Washington Wizards. Mm-hmm. I have a theory.
Give it to me.
Clippers of the East. Yeah, high expectations, a couple of stars. Every year, this is the year for them. And then it always falls apart due to lackluster performance and or injury.
I like where your head is at, but the difference I would say is that the Clippers actually had in-season excellence.
That's fair.
And the Wizards don't even give us that.
They haven't. Like, do you remember last season the Clippers started like 14-2 or something? It was like, this is the year for the Clippers. Yeah. Feels like a million years ago now. A million years ago.
No, I mean, they have every year they have that, right? And that's, I think the biggest difference also is that the Wizards in the playoffs almost overachieve, should I say, based on what they did in the regular season.
Sure.
Whereas the Clippers underachieve based on what they did in the regular season. But yes, similarly, they both have a curse.
Yeah. And the Wizards were like a Kelly Olynyk out of his mind performance away from being in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Like, I think a lot of people, it's so hard. I think people, when they look back on seasons, remember conference finals and finals, but like those conference semifinals kind of just get dragged to the trash. Mm-hmm. And Kelly Olynyk scored like 28 points and was like 4 for 5 from 3, and like, they won that game 7.
They won that, and then the other thing that happened was that John Wall tried to be someone other than John Wall. He tried to be Steph Curry, and he's like shooting mad threes.
Yes.
Like, that's not your game, dude. Like, yes, you have, it's on your shoulders as the star of the team to will the team to victory, but you got to do it playing your game. You can't all of a sudden just decide you're going to start shooting pull-ups. That's not going to get it done.
Can you walk me off something?
What's up?
I still think the Cavs are going to win the East.
Yeah, no.
I still think the Cavs are going to win the East. I don't think it's a big deal. Like, I think they're just like, whatever, we have enough, we don't have to put it together because we've all been here for over 10 years.
And it's not even that so much as, First of all, the easiest answer is the correct answer. It's LeBron James, right? And,
sure.
And specifically, not just because he's great, but specifically his ability as a basketball computer to know what you're running, to remember what you ran, and then like anticipate and attack your weaknesses and all that. Every game you play against him like goes in the memory bank. The guy can remember his stat line from like a random December game against the Knicks 5 years ago. And he can remember J.R. Smith's stat line.
I don't like people like that.
But it's not like he's not studying at home.
No, he's like a savant.
He's superhuman.
Weird.
He's superhuman in that regard. And so when you play a 7-game series, like for instance, remember the year the Bulls gave them all the problems when he was in Miami, and then they got to the playoffs, and there's no problems because I have the cheat code.
Seen the blueprint.
I have the cheat code for all of this, right? And so there's that, and then coupled with, while the teams in the East are better, there's not a Houston Rockets in the East. There's not a Golden State Warriors in the East. There's not even a Spurs in the East. So they're not good enough to overcome his ability to take advantage of his IQ in a 7-game series with preparation time and all that.
Because I'm a very serious journalist, I didn't include this. The staff didn't include this in the rundown of the television show. But there was a report from a gentleman from the Sporting News that there's a list of teams that have their eyes on Anthony Davis this offseason. Now, Anthony Davis is an excellent basketball player, and if you run a basketball team, you should have your eyes on Anthony Davis. Sure. But there's this idea with Boogie going down and with the cap space that they don't have in New Orleans, it seems like he could potentially be on the block, right?
For what?
To be traded.
But I just say, but why?
Because, well,
this is what I love with the people who say we should trade Anthony Davis, or they should trade Anthony Davis. All right, why? Because you're going to get a collection of young players and picks, right?
Mm-hmm. And then maybe you can get another Anthony Davis.
The more picks that you get, it's like, why? Because it's like darts in the dark. So you're hoping one of them hits, and the one that hits, you hope to draft a player who might one day be as good as Anthony Davis, or you could just have the Anthony Davis you have right now.
There's this argument as well is, Anthony Davis is up in 2 or 3 years, and what I can see what we will be as Pelicans for the next 2 or 3 years, and that will not be something that he wants to stay around. So if you're forecasting him leaving,
right,
then you get things back for him before it's like, oh, they need to get rid of him because he's leaving anyway. So you get sort of shortchanged on your value.
That's the Utah Jazz Darren Williams theory, right? Well, they're going to dump me anyways. So let me dump him first. I think I would say do better as a front office, right? Do better. Why are you guys going to be a team that he wants to leave? Well, part of it is because you made decisions like giving Solomon Hill a bunch of money,
yes,
like giving Etuan Moore a bunch of money, and stuff like that. Maybe and this goes back to
it's like Dame Lillard's in a similar situation.
Everything comes back to the Clippers. If the Clippers had, think about it, what's the hardest part in the sport? Stars. How can I find elite players? The Clippers had that. So now the easy part is just filling out the
pieces around
it, which by the way, easier to do in terms of people to find, harder to do in that it's more work in the sense of this. You see Chris Paul, that dude's a star.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius to watch Chris Paul say, that guy's an elite player, or to watch Blake Griffin, or watch any of these guys, or watch Anthony Davis. But it does take like a dude to work really hard to see a Tyler Johnson and say, that dude can ball. Or to see a Wes Matthews when he was coming out of college, that maybe he could fit here. That's the part where having a general manager really comes in handy, right? Like guy who actually goes out and does the work. And, so the Clippers, the Pelicans, like I think that's what they suffered by. Like they did the hard part. The easy part is the part that also requires actual work. It's like asking you to do the dishes. Like no one is incapable of doing the dishes. This is too complicated a task for me. It's just, do you want to do it? Do you want to?
It takes some
burn
time.
that calorie.
It's not fun, and you have to do that.
Exactly.
So you don't even want to go down the hypothetical road of teams that were interested in Anthony Davis?
Everyone's interested. Like who's not interested? Who's like, oh no, I've had my fill of Anthony Davis.
Good, yeah. I think that's fair. It's fun to talk about, but I also do not see it happening.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where people have conditioned themselves that if something's not working, that, okay, just raise it to the ground. Rather than saying, okay, what can I do to make this work? If Anthony Davis were older, then like Blake Griffin, for instance. If you were like Blake Griffin's age and similar injury histories, whatever, and now you're looking at that contract, like at the end of the contract, he's not going to be worth that. Then maybe that's a conversation. Yeah, but he's so young. Why would you give up because you just got this wrong right now?
You're right. They keep Anthony Davis. What do they do about Boogie?
I think they're going to. This actually helps.
Max Boogie?
Yeah, but not the whole 5 years. I think what's going to happen is like, look, we love you and we're not going to shortchange you any money, but I can't give you
2 + 1.
Yeah, something. We got to work out something, whether it's a partial guarantee on the third year, or if it's just straight 2 years, or a team option player, whatever it is.
It's not 5 years.
It's not 5 years, but also we're not going to ask you to take a pay cut. And this works because, in a weird twist, this actually helped them because it got rid of everybody who was lining up in July. Like, no one's going to come in with a max offer.
That's a good point.
July 1 for a guy who tore his Achilles. So now we got rid of all the other suitors and like, hey, I still love you though. That's what New Orleans can do. And you're gambling. You're saying, I hope he comes back a reasonable facsimile of himself. And then maybe we can start working on getting the other parts around them better.
More importantly, Black Panther. You've seen it. You're not going to spoil it.
No, yeah.
But with the conversation we had off wax before we started recording was I wasn't that enthusiastic by the trailer.
Right.
And you're here to tell me what?
I'm here to tell you that it's amazing. It's amazingly written, amazingly acted, and as it pertains to the trailer tells you absolutely nothing.
The trailer is not representative. It's not a microcosm of the film.
No, the trailer basically just lets people know, hey, Chadwick Boseman plays Black Panther, and by the way, Michael B. Jordan's a bad guy. Yeah. And that's all, and Black Panther's a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
that's
we've got some other people in there, and then some action scenes, and there's some cool graphics that we put into this.
They just wanted awareness, not necessarily like, hey, come here, I'm going to show you something, and this is going to be really cool. No, it's tremendous, and it is a triumph, I think, of what happens when you invest in people who aren't the same old people. So the guy who wrote and directed this movie is a guy named Ryan Coogler. He's the guy that wrote and directed Fruitvale Station. He's the guy who wrote and directed Creed. Right, and so you see the ascension of this dude who went from an indie movie.
So like he's Greg Popovich and Michael B. Jordan is Tim Duncan.
No.
Oh, come on.
No. You know why? Because Pop will tell you from day one, Duncan has been carrying me the whole time. And I would say Fruitvale Station, while Michael B. Jordan did a good job, that movie was celebrated for its writing and for its directing, right?
Structure, yeah.
And then as time has gone by, Michael B. Jordan has grown. And I'm gonna say this. This is a movie that had Angela Bassett in it, has Chadwick Boseman, has Sterling K. Brown. I mean, it has no shortage of great actors, right? Michael B. Jordan steals the show. This dude, it's supposed to be Chadwick Boseman's movie. You walk out, you say, that's a Michael B. Jordan movie. Like that. He does it like that. He plays a bad guy. And
that's a spoiler. No, I'm kidding. You can get that from the trailer.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to do a segment here because the update of where LeBron is going to go next year is just going to be so repetitive, and every time anything happens, we're going to end up talking about it. But it's going to be just what we talk about, more so than anything that happens on the court this entire basketball season. But let me pitch you my theory. Going to the Rockets. Going to the Houston Rockets.
That's your theory?
It's happening.
I thought there was more to it than that.
No. Going to the Rockets.
No intrigue.
It's a done deal. Going to the Rockets.
I would say that they are definitely one of the front runners. I've had the crazy idea that Philadelphia has a very real chance, because the one thing that Philadelphia could say, other than we play in the Eastern Conference and you're going to enjoy this red carpet to the finals, and guess what? The only thing worse than losing to the Warriors in the finals is losing to them in the second round or something like that, right? So, beyond that though, if you look at Philly's roster, we all look at Joel Embiid and say, okay, he's the real deal.
Sure.
And we all look at Ben Simmons.
Never played a back-to-back in his life, but sure.
Well, he's cleared for it now though.
Cleared.
He's
didn't
cleared
play.
For it, right?
Yeah.
And you look at Ben Simmons and you're like, he looks like he's pretty real deal too, right? And a lot of their other guys that are complementary pieces are the kind of complementary.
I love Covington.
That's the kind of dude that you need, right? I don't need another flashy star. I need a guy who defends and hits threes. And same thing, Dario Saric. He's a guy who can create a little. But doesn't want, he's not like, give me the ball, I need the ball in my hands. He's not that guy. He's like Tony Kukoc. Just throw it to me and I can make things happen. Not just because they're both Croatian.
Sure.
But so anyway, so you're the Philadelphia 76ers and all these guys are young. Dude, do you want to keep doing this for years on years on years? Because if you go to Houston and it doesn't work, you guys got like a 2-year window.
Go somewhere else.
You got a 2-year window.
You're LeBron James. You played on 5 different teams.
You're the vagabond. Oh, by the way, we never give Moses Malone crap for that.
No, I don't think people, especially in today's days and age, things have changed.
But it's just crazy. But like the old school people who are like, I remember when guys just played for one team. Like I never heard anyone say Moses Malone.
Jalen treats every time a superstar moves team like it's a mark against your record.
Right. Like I don't see. To me, it's the opposite. Right? The idea that if he went to a third franchise, I won 3 titles with 3 different franchises. Like to me, that's hard.
It'd be more before at least.
Because that to me, that's harder than 6 by Jordan, in the sense of this. Once Michael Jordan and the Bulls found the formula, they just kept playing the hits over and over again. And it's like the Eagles playing Hotel California. Like, the crowd of wrestlers play Hotel California. They'll love it. And no one ever complains. This dude, using the music analogy, went out and like changed genres. And like, you know what? I'll be a rock and roll artist. And I'll go platinum there.
Can I refute the Sixers thing though?
Why?
I watch a lot of Cavs games. And it seems like after every single bucket, LeBron's under the basket if he's not on the ball. And after the ball goes in, it lands in his stomach, and he looks at whoever missed the defensive assignment and gives them the
That's called the daddy LeBron.
Yeah, it's just and every time it doesn't happen on offense, it's always defense. Whenever the other team scores, he will single out the person that messed up and show his frustration at them. It happens like 60% of opposing buckets. And that is with a veteran team that's been sort of consistent and that has their
not defensively though.
but consistent in terms of the roster.
Right.
And I just feel like Daddy LeBron with all of those young players, I think that would be a very frustrating experience for him.
There's 2 things I'll say. One is my favorite time when LeBron does that is when it's his fault, but he still needs to blame.
Yes, which happens often.
He wants to blame Tristan Thompson. It's always Tristan Thompson's fault.
Like,
where was the hell?
It's like you could have slidden over. That's one slide, and you're in the mix.
I thought we said no middle. Like that's if I'm Tristan Thompson, I thought we said no middle. Maybe I just dreamt that
happens a lot. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think part of that is the idea that him knowing like it's not going to get better. These are old guys who know it all, who should know better, and they still can't get it right. And it's not like they're so athletic they can clean up those mistakes. That's one thing. You go to a young team, first of all, a young team of people who are deferential to him. That's a big difference between them and like Kyrie, where Kyrie was like, I don't care. Like, you come to my team. I'm not helping you. You have a team of guys that like legitimately look up to LeBron and like, this is cool and we'll do whatever we want and whatever you ask for. And by the way, they're not so bad at executing, the Sixers.
No.
I mean, it's not, I don't think they'd be making as many rotation, mistakes as the Cavs do.
You don't.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like the Sixers are what they need right now, honestly, beyond LeBron, which is what everyone needs. They just need a vet, like, to kind of lead them, because there's a lot of the...
Remember Elton Brand was like on the roster?
No, like,
was that last season?
He's the GM for the D-League team now, for their G League
affiliate. Yeah, but I think he was on the roster. What is it? Last season, right? Am I crazy?
Brian Colangelo, like, one of the first things he did is he went out and signed out on Brand because they had
everyone was just like, as a player?
Yeah, no. Yeah. But more than that, more than just a guy in the locker room, they need an actual dude who will lead them into battle. Not necessarily be their best player, but just, be a leader.
Someone tells me we'll have other opportunities to discuss the future of LeBron
it's the last
James.
time anyone will ever talk about this.
Exactly. Last night, we had some history in the National Basketball Association. Without Chris Paul, without Trevor Ariza, James Harden and the Rockets host the Magic. Then
the daunting Orlando
Eric
Magic.
Gordon goes out, and James Harden says, don't worry about it. I will just make history scoring a 60-point triple-double. The first ever in the history of the league. Amin, of course I'm going to ask you the stock cliched question. Does this put James Harden in the front of the MVP race?
No. And here's why.
Ooh, I like it.
He's already in the front of the MVP race. Doesn't put him any more in front. He's like, who else are we talking about here? I love the people early in LeBron's the best player. Yeah. Like, do you see the way they've lost?
This Cavs team, it's hard to be like, we're going to get, he led the Cavs into chaos. Yeah. So we'll give him the MVP.
So now I'm glad that one's gone. Russ, I guess he's having, after a tumultuous little beginning.
Could average a triple-double if he really tried, if they started giving him those rebounds and assists like they did last year.
Yeah, but again, I mean, I can't think of anyone who's near Harden's level. I've heard the Jimmy Butler conversation. The
Timberwolves would have to be like a 2
well, no,
seed
it's just the virtual. It's just the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
not that they're two. It's just like look, they're actually winning. They're above 500. And then obviously Curry and Durant, they're awesome. But my theory is they will never win an MVP as long as they play together, because people are going to penalize them. They're going to say, but you have so and so with you. So yeah, Harden's MVP.
So let me ask you another question that I really want to ask you about James Harden. Is he underappreciated because of his nonchalant style of play? Let me walk you through this. Right. Like, you watch Russell Westbrook, explosive dunks and scowls and fist pumps, and you watch LeBron as this physically imposing machine that you, as someone on your couch, you're watching, like, I could never defend that man. Right. James Harden doesn't talk too much, doesn't say too much. He's got this style of play which is slow and kind of calm, and he's sort of like a slow. He seems like he doesn't even try that hard. Does that make him underappreciated by people that watch the game?
I would say no, but that theory that you're saying is absolutely correct. It's the same reason why if you ask NBA people, Westbrook or Curry, everyone says Curry. But you ask the comment, Westbrook, because
his explosiveness and the dunks and the scowls.
Because we've been conditioned for decades that this is what a superstar looks like. First of all, physically imposing, but then also the look on his face and stuff. And just Curry, the way he plays, it's hard for, I think, the casual fan to pick up on that. As far as Harden, though, it's not that. It's the foul drawing, which is a talent.
That's fair. But
that's the thing I find more than anything when I talk to people. That's what turns them off. It's like, all he does is draw fouls. Like, anyone could do it, which we know isn't true.
One thing I love about the James Harden foul drawing thing is like, we changed the rules and we're going to make it so James Harden isn't allowed to do this. He's like, don't worry, I'll still get to the line, guys. It's going to be okay.
The stuff but beyond the 3-point line is all right, but his gift is when I get to the rim, you have to foul me. I'm going to move in such a way where the only recourse you have is to make physical contact, draw the foul.
And it works.
And it's talent.
So Jalen has this theory about LeBron James. It is that when LeBron James sees competition, he does one thing to the competition: disarm and disable. So Jalen's theory is that LeBron James befriends his competition and always compliments them on Twitter, and whenever he sees some sort of threat or a teammate that he might possibly have in the future, he'll publicly praise them. And after this performance, here's what he tweeted about James Harden. Come on, James Harden. Now that's insane, G. 60-point triple dub. Sheesh! That's his new thing, sheesh. He's trying to make sheesh happen.
Fire emoji.
Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. He's really trying to make sheesh happen, which I respect. Do you think there are ulterior motives to these kind of compliments like Jalen?
Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
I like it. Give it to me. Give it to me.
And I like that Jalen outlined there's two different strategies. One is, are we going to play together? Like, all right, let me set the table there. Let me look the breadcrumbs out, which definitely is a possibility, at least with Harden.
I think that's his best choice, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about the where LeBron's going conversation.
But the other one is definitely have you ever seen the movie This Is the End with Jonah Hill?
Yes, I have. I like that movie more than other people did. Yes.
I love that movie, but Jonah Hill's character is always kind of like, hey, Jay, it's all right, dude. Like, it's come on, G. Like, it's this super positive dude who, when it's clearly something that's threatening me, like, I'm just gonna play it off like, oh no, we're all good.
Yeah, we're all friends, and I'm just complimenting my friends because we're all peers here, and it's all great. But he's looking at that like, ooh, wow, like James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry, like these performances have been really impressive. Let me just publicly praise them because also, maybe one day they'll be my teammates.
And by the way, it must be hard for LeBron because if he doesn't say anything, people go, oh, you saw because you're not getting attention.
It's a lose for him. Well, everything's gotten harder for LeBron. Because the Cleveland Cavaliers just got worse playing the Pistons without their team. Yeah. Like half of the Pistons. Yeah. Kevin Love hurt his fifth metatarsal, whatever that means. Basically, the thing that connects your little pinky to your wrist. He broke that. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. Not only that, the Cavs lost to the Pistons and looked bad doing it. What is going to be the long-term implications of this Kevin Love injury? Well,
first of all, the defense will get better.
Ooh.
I mean, that's why it's kind of like, remember in the finals the first year? They lost Kyrie and they lost Kevin Love. Like, yeah, but they got so much better defensively as a result because the guys who are taking up those minutes now, that's what they do, you know. But then the other part of this is they already got chemistry issues. Maybe this gets them somewhat on the same page.
Less variables, like just less people that need the ball,
one less irritant. I'm not calling him an irritant, but that relationship it is an irritant within that locker room. So one less thing to try to heal or mend or whatever. And then by the time he comes back, ready for the playoffs, he's rested, and he gives them another element there. I think this might be a blessing in disguise for Cleveland.
Ooh. Yeah. What about this, though? This is an interesting angle. If Cleveland was going to make a deal, right? If they were going to make a deal, it seems like Channing Frye would have to be part of that. Yes. But now without Kevin Love,
can they
do that?
Depends on who the deal is for. By the way, all the deals that they've been rumored to be involved in are terrible. This is not, George Hill ain't coming to save the day.
No.
Like,
George Hill is not going to make this team turn the corner.
Kevin Love got hurt. Now I can't trade Channing Frye for George Hill. Like, that's okay.
That's probably another blessing in disguise, to be honest.
He's like the fourth worst defender at point guard this season. But, I think, because this is what I've been saying. The answer to the Cavaliers' problems in terms of winning the East are all in that locker room. They don't need anyone. They have enough to get it done. And they just obviously, when you talk about reincorporating Isaiah Thomas, all of the growing pains they're going through. I was on the jump last week with Byron Scott, and I said, Coach Scott, when would you figure out all these things with the team in the calendar? He said, training camp and preseason. Yeah, well, that dude missed that, and he missed the first 2 BS months of the year, November and December, where no one's really caring. And his October is January. And so it's a lot harder for them to kind of figure out who they are when they're, part of their team is still kind of in the getting ready for the season mode.
The spotlight, the losses, the media attention is not helping at all either. You can already see it starting to wear on Isaiah Thomas in every single press interview.
Well, welcome to, this is the big time, right?
This is exactly what it is.
You're not the scrappy underdog and everyone just cheers for him anymore.
Yeah.
You are now.
You're not the Kings anymore.
Or even the Celtics, right? The Celtics are like, the little engine that could. Now you are in the land of expectation, and this is what it looks like when you're not smoothly sailing.
Andre Drummond led the Pistons over the Cavs last night. He also has an all-star bid, courtesy of a John Wall injury. But with Kevin Love going out, that leaves a spot open. Amin, I'm sure they're going to announce this soon. Who would you fill that spot with?
Well, I'm in the Adam Silver camp of whoever the coaches wanted next on the list, put him in. But if we remove that, element out, I say either Goran Dragic or Lou Williams. I think it's ridiculous. The Miami Heat have been as good as they are in the East, and they have no representatives, and the Wizards have been as bad as they are, and they have two.
I think that's fair.
And then in the West, with the injuries the Clippers have had, and they're still in the playoff picture, that's because of Lou Williams, and I kind of feel bad for guys. Both of them are guys who've never made it. Like, this is probably their one chance to make it. Let one of those guys in.
I think I would go with Lou Williams. Because he's technically in the Eastern Conference now. Can we say that?
No,
are we allowed to say that? Are we allowed to say that? Not yet. I'm putting once he's in the Eastern Conference. Once the paperwork is done, we'll put him in the All-Star game. The talk of the NBA has been the Blake Griffin trade and the implications all over the place. And, of course, someone asked LeBron James about it. He has some very insightful words about the nature of the business in the National Basketball Association.
Player gets traded, they was doing what's best for the franchise, but when a player decides to leave, he's not loyal, he's a snake, he's not committed. That's just that's the narrative of how it goes. So I'm definitely I know that firsthand.
Now, it's hard to feel too much sympathy for the plight of these multi-million-dollar athletes, right? It's hard, but LeBron has a very good point. And when he used the term snake, who was he making a reference to, Amin?
I would say himself, right?
That, and also Kevin Durant has been labeled a snake, and people say that about him all the time.
I thought that was LeBron that throwing a pity party for himself.
His own issues? Yeah.
And they write letters to him in Comic Sans. All these things happen to players, people burning their jerseys, people showing up to their first game back with weird signs, calling them crybaby, and then
it happens.
I was waiting for him to just list everything that's happened.
Everything that's ever happened to him.
No, I mean, he's absolutely right. There is a double standard. It's the weirdest thing. It's the one, I think, American society, we root for the underdog.
Good point.
We usually side with labor over management.
Of course.
Right? Like it's those greedy fat cats on Wall Street, except in sports. All of a sudden, we all root for the greedy fat cats, and we're like anti-labor. You say multimillionaires. What about the multi-billionaires
that get the pass? Exactly, yes. They're essentially signing off all these decisions.
Yeah. Poor Dan Gilbert, he lost LeBron James, but LeBron James, you jerk, And
it's interesting because there is a little bit in this particular story, the Blake Griffin story, what's been come out, everyone's been talking about, they told him that he was going to be a Clipper for life. They told him that they put his jersey up in the rafters.
They told us. That's the problem. It wasn't like one of those things where it just came out. By the way, you know what they did when they tried to woo him? They were running to the media. Their PR people were like, hey, we did this for Blake. How can we forget the infamous T-shirt with Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Mandela and Blake Griffin?
I honestly thought that was a Photoshop fake when I saw that. I honestly thought that was a Photoshop fake when I saw that.
I've seen I've held the shirt in my hands. It is real.
So I think LeBron's got a point here, especially when it comes to Kevin Durant. Because when he said snake, people have been calling Kevin Durant that, so I kind of thought that was a veiled reference. Kevin Durant was a free agent. He was allowed to work for whoever, whatever, wherever he wants, yet everyone treats him this way. And then Blake Griffin with this, we're like, the Clippers are rebuilding. This is Jerry West. The puppeteer's pulling the strings. They're just doing the right thing. That's the right decision. There's a double standard there.
Absolutely. And by the way, the Durant thing was disgusting. There's all these, you hear stories like school teachers showing up. This is a guy who quits. The dude donated $1 million to tornado
He was an unemployed guy that found a job. Yeah. Essentially, that's how it breaks out to. But really, let's get to this. Is LeBron mentioning this with just a little eye towards greasing the skids for his exit to Cleveland? I have to say it.
Don't you do this to me again.
I have to say it.
Don't you guys do this?
I have to say this.
That's what I'm saying. Anytime LeBron weighs in on these things, I always believe it's ultimately about LeBron. It's
you think LeBron James has himself in mind? What?
He's not talking about he's not talking about Kevin Durant, not talking about even Blake Griffin. He's talking about himself.
But you mentioned that he's talking about the things that have happened to him in the past.
And that are
could
going
he
to happen,
potentially be talking about what's going to happen to him in the future?
I mean, I don't think that there's any secret that we all believe that he's not going to stay there. I mean, look at that team. Let's just say he will stay.
Oh, yeah. What's Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith locked in for some more years.
The number 10 overall pick because the Nets keep winning. Chetty Osman, that's not enough.
No.
To say, keep me here.
Well, Doc Rivers was also asked about the future of the Clippers franchise in the wake of the Blake Griffin trade. And there's a lot of eyes on DeAndre Jordan and Lou Williams and what will happen with them. And he said, quote, "We're not just trading everybody away.
Okay.
And then Lawrence Flank, who, is the president of basketball operations, who makes those decisions, said, quote, "You never know what's going to unfold with the trade deadline looming." Does Doc Rivers know that he's not making the roster decisions anymore?
I mean, it doesn't sound like it. Or maybe he is. Because Lawrence Frank is his guy. Mm-hmm. That's his guy.
Is Jerry West his guy?
I don't know about that one. And I'll do you one better. I don't know how much Jerry West had to do with this deal. Because I was on Mornings with Keyshawn, George, and LZ. Okay. And we tried to get Jerry West on the line to come talk about the deal. And he kind of was like,
I don't want to.
Like, not even, I don't want to talk about this. Like, well, I think you should talk to Lawrence because it was Lawrence's deal. And Jerry West is very famous for this. When it's like, when he didn't do it, it's like, my name's Bennett and I ain't in it.
Oh, no. First of all, this is a great corporate strategy, not just in basketball or sports, but all over the place. Yeah. You associate yourself enough so you can take credit if it goes well, and you disassociate yourself enough so if it doesn't go well, you don't have any blame.
Do you know what the most highly coveted position in sports is? More than quarterback, more than head coach, more than
co-host of a mediocre afternoon program on ESPN with Jalen Rose?
Well, I wouldn't know that. Oh. No, the most pivotal one is consultant or advisor. Because all I did was give you advice, man. Y'all did that.
It didn't work. I told them not to do it.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
And then when it works out, I was like, you're welcome. That's all you got to do. Like,
we spend so much of our time today talking about the Rockets, talking about the Cavs, and talking about the Clippers and the Pistons, and then we have the Warriors, who are clearly the favorite to win the championship. This juggernaut, this team that cannot be stopped, went into Utah last night and got waxed by the Utah Jazz. They looked bad. Durant and Steph Curry just couldn't score. The Jazz dominated them from start to finish. They never even made a run, and they also wore these ridiculous uniforms. If you were the Jazz, would you consider wearing the uniforms more often based on that performance?
No, that's like with the Cavs hated their sleeve jerseys and then they won the finals and all of a sudden
sleeves all the time.
Sleeves, yeah.
Long sleeves. Let's wear jumpsuits.
Exactly. Can I have more sleeve? No, it's a dumb look. The court, by the way, the court looks like a college court.
I kind of like the court.
It looks like a college court, man. Like I look like they play in the Mountain West or something like that.
It was cool. It was cool. I watched the game and for the president of basketball operations or whatever was like, we don't often celebrate the southern part of the Utah state. And I was like, oh, okay. Shout to southern Utah. A little more deserty vibe.
Yeah,
there.
It is. And for the longest time, I used to read those. What was it, The Great Brain? Remember those books?
Yes.
Maybe not. But they lived in Utah and southern Utah. So I always thought Utah was desert. And then when I started watching basketball and the Jazz are like in the mountains and snowing, I'm like, what is this about? You know?
I think there's a lot of attention on how bad those uniforms looked, but really we should be talking about how bad Ricky Rubio's hair looks.
Man, look,
that's really where we should be. Ricky Rubio did look like the MVP last night, but the hair is just like, what is happening?
I say no. I say Ricky Rubio has looked magnificent, man. I like,
but we disagree.
Hair.
We disagree.
No, it looks like an extra from Narcos, man.
We do a thing here called Keep It Moving. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's time for Keep It Moving. If it is worth talking about, Emil Hassan, you will tell me to hit the brakes. If not, me, you, and Meth Man will keep it moving. First, from the Super Bowl, Eagles. Chris Long says that if they win the Super Bowl, he will get the linebackers coach face tattooed on himself. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You want to discuss this one?
Yes,
linebacker coach Ken Fajol. So this is what I think he is doing. You look at the handsome man right there.
Yeah.
I think what Chris Long is doing here is it's called emotional hedging.
Uh-huh.
If we win the Super Bowl, great. We won the Super Bowl. That's something that will last with me forever. I've accomplished my goal. Right. If we lose the Super Bowl, at least I don't have to get Ken's face tattooed on myself.
I mean,
emotional hedging.
Look, first of all, shout out to Chris Long, the man who's put his money where his mouth is.
Absolutely.
Many a time this year, and that's very cool of him. I think this is one of those things where if they win the Super Bowl, he's like, "Come on, coach, you know I was just joking."
Yeah,
there's no intention of actually keeping that bet.
Yes. Next, based on a very ridiculous internet craze, a bakery started serving Tide Pod donuts. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving.
Let's
keep
it moving.
We be moving, you know,
I hate the internet.
Philadelphia police are now exploring new ways of greasing up their light poles to keep fans from climbing on them. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Oh, hit the brakes on this one.
I mean, this is going to be a very easy solution.
So for the NFC Championship, they greased all the light poles with Cisco. Apparently it didn't work. Crisco, they should have used Cisco. They should have used Cisco. Would have gone better.
Unleash the dragon.
And now they're going to replace it with something else that's supposed to be more effective.
Yeah, it's called the Eagles ain't going to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
And that's how you wrap that one up.
Amin El-Hassan. United Airlines refused to let a passenger on a plane because they had an emotional support peacock. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Okay.
Right. So this is pretty interesting. Because
I'm on board with this topic.
Number one, how does one realize that the animal that gives me the emotional support, not a dog,
only a peacock, and a peacock only is good that I need that emotional support.
What was the elimination
not to disparage emotional support animals, but how many? What's the trial and error? What's the trial and error that we go down? How many different animals from the kingdom did you try before you realized that it was a peacock that sets you calm?
Where does one go to find a peacock?
And here's the thing: I think United Airlines is like, look, we will let you on the plane with your emotional support peacock. Just there's no vest. I need the vest. Yeah, you have to wear.
It's a massive animal. Did you see
have to wear the uniform of the emotional support. I did see. I saw the picture. Very long animal. Very long animal.
Where's it going to sit?
You can't put that in the above. You can't put that in the.
What happens when it wants to go do number 2?
I want to thank Amin El-Hassan for coming through, doing a great job in for Jalen Rose today. Happy birthday again to Jalen. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll all be back tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends to subscribe to the podcast. Rate us and review us on iTunes. DVR, series managed, Jalen Jacoby, every day on ESPN2 at 2 p.m., no longer at 2 a.m. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow.